Hello, my wonderful learners. Welcome back to English Unlocked. Today we are not talking about grammar. We are not talking about vocabulary lists. And we are not talking about study plans. Today, we are talking about identity. Because the biggest change in your English does not happen in your mouth. It does not happen in your notebook. It happens in how you see yourself. Let me ask you something simple. When someone asks you, "Do you speak English?" What is your answer inside your mind? Do you think, "I'm learning English. I'm trying. I'm not ready yet"? Many learners live inside this sentence. I'm learning English. And that sentence feels safe, but it also keeps you stuck. Because when you say, "I'm learning," your brain hears, "Not yet. Not now. Maybe later." Now listen carefully. There is a very important difference between these two sentences. I'm learning English. I'm an English speaker. The first sentence describes an activity. The second sentence describes an identity. Activities come and go. Identities guide behavior. If you see yourself as someone learning English, your brain waits for permission. It waits until you feel ready. It waits until you feel confident. But if you see yourself as an English speaker, your brain asks a different question. It asks, what would an English speaker do in this moment? This is the identity shift. Not pretending, not lying to yourself, but gently changing the way you act, even before you feel ready. Many learners believe confidence comes first, then action. But the truth is the opposite. Action comes first. Confidence follows. Think about how children learn to speak their first language. They do not wait until they are confident. They speak badly. They make sounds. They try. They act like speakers long before they speak well. As adults, we reverse this process. We wait. We prepare. We judge ourselves. And this waiting creates distance. Distance between understanding and speaking. Distance between knowing and using. The identity shift removes this distance. It does not say, "Speak perfectly." It says, "Behave like a speaker." And what does an English speaker do? An English speaker listens every day. An English speaker speaks even when sentences are short. An English speaker does not stop because of mistakes. An English speaker uses English as a tool, not as a test. Notice something important. Being an English speaker does not mean being fluent. It means being willing. Willing to use the language you have today. Now, let's talk about why this shift feels difficult. Your brain loves consistency. It loves familiar stories about who you are. If for years you have told yourself, "I'm bad at languages," or "I need more time," or "I'm not ready," your brain protects that story. When you try to act like a speaker, your brain may resist. It may say, "This is not you. You don't sound right. People will judge you." This resistance does not mean the identity shift is wrong. It means it is working. Change always creates discomfort. But here is the key idea. You do not need to change how you feel. You only need to change how you act. In very small ways. Identity does not change through big decisions. It changes through repeated evidence. Every time you choose to listen instead of avoiding, you give your brain evidence. Every time you speak one sentence instead of staying silent, you give your brain evidence. Every time you show up for English without pressure, you give your brain evidence. Over time, your brain updates the story, not with force, with facts. Let me give you an example. Imagine two people. The first person says, "I'm learning English, but I'm not confident." So when they feel tired, they skip practice. When they make a mistake, they stop. When speaking feels hard, they wait. The second person says, "I'm an English speaker who is improving." So when they feel tired, they listen anyway. When they make a mistake, they continue. When speaking feels hard, they simplify. Same level, different identity. Very different results. The identity shift is not motivation. It is alignment. Your actions begin to match the person you believe you are becoming. Now let me tell you about Lucia from Spain. She studied English for 6 years. She knew grammar well. She understood almost everything. But she never called herself an English speaker. Then, one day, she decided to try something new. Instead of saying, "I'm studying English," she started saying, "I use English every day." This small change in words created a big change in behavior. She began listening to English podcasts while cooking. She started thinking in English during her morning walk. She spoke to herself in the mirror, quietly practicing conversations. Nothing big, nothing dramatic, just small actions that matched her new identity. 6 months later, Lucia told me, "I don't know when it happened, but English feels normal now." This is the power of the identity shift. Now let's connect this to shadowing. Shadowing is not just a technique. It is an identity practice. When you shadow, you are not studying English. You are using English in real time. You are training your brain to think, "This is normal. This is part of who I am." That is why short daily shadowing works better than long, rare sessions. Because identity grows through frequency, not intensity. 5 minutes every day says, "I am the kind of person who uses English daily." 1 hour once a week says, "I visit English sometimes." And identities are built by what we do most often. So today, I want you to stop asking, "Am I fluent yet?" and start asking, "What would an English speaker do right now?" Maybe they would listen to 1 minute of English. Maybe they would repeat one sentence. Maybe they would think in English while walking. Small actions. Clear signal. You are not becoming someone new. You are revealing a part of yourself that already exists. Take a breath. Now that you understand what the identity shift is, let's talk about how to live it, gently and realistically. Because identity is not something you say once. It is something you practice, and practice does not mean effort. It means repetition. The biggest mistake learners make is trying to change identity with big promises. I will speak English fluently this year. I will study every day for 1 hour. I will never translate again. These promises create pressure, and pressure breaks identity change. Instead, we use identity signals. Identity signals are small behaviors that answer one question: what kind of person am I becoming? An English speaker does not wait for perfect conditions. They use English in imperfect moments. Let me give you 3 identity-based practices. The first is language exposure without preparation. An English learner prepares before listening. They think, "Do I have time? Am I focused enough?" An English speaker presses play. They allow English to exist in their environment. While cooking, while walking, while resting. Not to understand everything, but to normalize the sound. This sends a powerful message to your brain. English belongs here. The second practice is low-stakes speaking. English learners often wait for real situations, meetings, exams, important conversations. English speakers create their own situations. They speak to themselves. They describe what they see. They repeat phrases quietly. No audience, no evaluation. This removes fear and builds familiarity. Familiarity is more important than confidence. The third practice is identity language. Pay attention to how you talk about yourself. Instead of saying, "I'm trying to learn English," say, "I use English every day." Instead of, "I'm not good at speaking," say, "I'm improving my speaking." These are not lies. They are directional truths. They point your brain forward. Your brain listens to your words, and it adjusts behavior to match them. Now, let's talk about resistance. At some point, you will feel uncomfortable again. You will feel slow. You will feel blocked. This does not mean the identity shift failed. It means your brain is updating. Every system resists change at first. When this happens, do not push harder. Soften. Return to listening. Return to shadowing. Return to short moments. Remember, an English speaker does not quit because of one bad day. They adjust. And this brings us to an important idea. Fluency is not a goal. It is a side effect. A side effect of daily contact, of reduced fear, of repeated identity signals. When you stop chasing fluency and start acting like a speaker, fluency appears quietly. One day you answer without translating. One day you speak without planning. One day you realize English feels lighter. Not because you forced it, but because you lived it. Let me tell you about Majid from Saudi Arabia. He worked in an office where everyone spoke Arabic. He had no opportunity to practice English at work. But Majid decided to become an English speaker anyway. He started small. He changed his phone language to English. He listened to English news for 5 minutes each morning. He described his breakfast in English, quietly to himself. His colleagues did not know. His family did not notice. But Majid's brain was receiving clear signals every day. At first, Majid felt strange. His inner voice said, "This is silly. You're just talking to yourself." But Majid continued anyway. He understood that identity change requires patience, like planting a seed and waiting for it to grow. Some days were easier than others. On busy mornings, he listened to just one English song. On tired evenings, he simply thought good night in English. The key was consistency, not perfection. Majid also noticed something interesting. When he watched English movies, he stopped reading subtitles automatically. When he heard English songs on the radio, he tried to sing along. When he saw English text on products, he read it naturally. These were not conscious decisions. His brain was simply acting like an English speaker, because that's how Majid saw himself now. After 8 months, Majid's company hired an American consultant. Majid was asked to help with translation. His manager was surprised. "Majid, I didn't know you spoke English so well." Majid smiled and said, "I've been practicing every day." The identity shift worked. quietly and powerfully. Now, let me share another example from my own experience. I once taught a student named Hana from Japan. Hana was very shy about speaking English. She understood everything perfectly in class. But when it was time to speak, silence. I asked Hana, "How do you see yourself?" She answered, "I am someone who is bad at speaking English." This was her identity, and her behavior matched perfectly. So we worked together to change this story. Instead of focusing on speaking exercises, we focused on identity exercises. First, Hana started saying, "I am an English speaker who is learning to be more confident." Then she began small speaking practices at home. She recorded herself reading simple sentences. She spoke to her cat in English. She practiced ordering coffee in English. Even though she lived in Tokyo, these practices felt safe. No pressure, no judgment. Slowly, Hana's identity shifted. 3 months later, Hana volunteered to give a presentation in class. Her English was not perfect, but her confidence was beautiful. After class, I asked, "How do you see yourself now?" Hana smiled. "I am an English speaker who is still improving." Same person, different identity, completely different results. This is why I believe so strongly in the identity approach. It does not require you to change everything overnight. It does not demand perfection. It simply asks you to act a little differently every day. So today, I invite you to do one simple thing. Choose one action, one small action. Listen for 2 minutes. Repeat one sentence. Think one thought in English. And when you do it, say this inside your mind. This is what an English speaker does. Not perfectly, not confidently, but consistently. You are not behind. You are not late. You are in transition. And identity shifts happen quietly, one small decision at a time. Thank you for staying with me today. Thank you for choosing progress over pressure. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.